Here comes the 1,800 bucks in 5 days. Let's go. Welcome back to the RugDoc YouTube channel. I appreciate you guys coming back for us one more again. This is going to be part 2 of 1,800 bucks in 5 days. And if you're thinking, man, this is crazy or whatever, it's not. It's just numbers. It's math, and we use a calculator, and that's how we decided to get into it. The risk isn't so much these numbers, it's the other things that are happening around it, like crazy stuff going on in Ethereum where gas now costs an arm and literally a leg. This is not financial advice. I'm sure as shit not a financial advisor, but I love you anyway for hanging out, and I appreciate your support. Let's do it. All right, so in this follow-up video to part 1, I'm going to go through all the numbers here, and we had a few people asking for this because they're wondering how much this costs. So this is my next round of breeding. I'm buying SLP here, okay? So with the outrageous gas fees right now, that's running $1,744 if I include the gas. But we're going to walk through all the numbers real quick for you so you can get an understanding of what exactly this is costing, and then you can do the numbers and double check them for yourself. And this is all on blockchain, so it's not like we can, not be legitimate, obviously. So you can always check them out for yourself. So that was $1,700 for the SLP purchase. We're breeding 2 Axies today. We're going to do 4 eggs because they're at 4 breeds already because they have really good stats, and that's all that was available. So I had to, do it like we do. All right. So we picked up some SLP. I'm looking at the AXS prices here, and I realized that I don't need to buy additional AXS because they lowered the number from 4 to 2 due to the trading. And so what ends up happening, I already have some AXS, so I just used that. I did get a question earlier. Somebody asked me what it would cost to run one of these farms. They're a little more expensive if you go all in. Not gonna lie. But if you build it, you can build it piecemeal and go working your way up. And that wouldn't be a problem. There's your 2 Axie right there's your 2 AXS. I popped over here to check that because I was going to buy some, and then I didn't, and that was the reason behind not buying it. I probably should have bought it, but I prefer to make those purchases, I think, over on Binance. Food for thought. Now, so as we're going through the farm, I'm going to real quick breed these guys. Like I mentioned in part 1, we're going to do more birds. I think it's important to diversify a little bit. So I added that in there, and the particular mix that I'm trying to get is one that's going to make a little more money. And that was important when I was doing this. And you'll see that reflected in the decisions that we're making here. But this is how you can start to see what it would cost and then do the numbers and make sure that you're good with it. So I bought that SLP. I'm already using the AXS that I had before. And it's only 2, but because I bought them when they were like $40, let me pop this out. I think it was 44 times 2, 4, 6, 8, because we're only doing 2 breeds on each of those. So it's going to be $352. That's the cost of the AXS, not including gas fees on that. So if you want to include gas fees, you'd probably go about $25, because it was a week ago or so. All right, so I'm checking my numbers. The breeding guide gives me a breakdown. I use this so I don't make a mess up. I almost called it the F-bomb, but we don't want to mess it up. And the reason, because if you mess up, it's another $50 to correct it if you undershoot the amount, because that's what the gas was costing at that time. As of this recording, gas prices were like $460 some odd dollars, making it just not feasible. I mean, at that point, not for somebody like me anyway. Some of those big boys out there, I don't have the gas fees right in front of me, but on Sushi they always give you an idea. I buy AXS off of Sushi, so when I'm on there, I can see the gas price. Today it was listing $465 or whatever, and I was dead. All right, let's quickly jump back over to the Ronin network. Now, if you're not familiar with what Ronin is, that is the proprietary sidechain off of Ethereum that Sky Mavis has built for the Axie Infinity universe, which is why when you're over on Axie, there are no fees for transactions. If you're selling in the marketplace and you are the seller they do charge a fee for that. It's 4.25% of total cost of your Axie. That's what their cut is. It's also worth noting, and I mentioned this briefly last time, and I didn't touch on it too hard. If you're in the United States, it is because these are NFTs, you do have a tax obligation, and they consider it to be like a goofy capital gains. I said capital gains, and I wasn't specific. I'm going to point that out right meow. It's like an art capital gain. So because it's like a fine art capital gain or something, it's like 28%. It's not regular capital gain. So I wanted to clarify briefly, real quick, because I know I glanced over that. You will get hit with that cost. So to pop back over from Ethereum back to Ronin sidechain, $47 or 42, whatever it was, 47.24. So that's going to be an additional cost in order to move those digital assets over. And I'm saving money here as well because I didn't have to buy AXS. If you're buying AXS, you also got to send that over. And those tokens don't travel together. There's no special little buggy that you can fit everything in and just drive it across the border. You got to send them across the bridge individually. So that would have been 47 times 2. The savings add up very quickly. We're doing 6-piece plant Axies. So it was a little bit different. This time we're doing a 4 on birds, and we're not doing the ABCD, we're doing the ABC. And not because I didn't want to do a D, just because there was nothing remotely close to my price range. There was one other one out there, but it just didn't make sense to pay that much because you just shoot yourself in the foot. You could just breed them 55 times instead of doing that. The numbers didn't work for me, so I didn't. The cost on this guy was $2,000. That's what you just saw. The $2,000 is going to be the cost for the ABC Axie 4 eggs that you're going to see coming. Okay, so this is an ABC setup. 4 eggs coming. It's going to cost us $2,000. And then you're going to watch here as I go through the process. But that's what this costs. Last time the numbers were different because I wasn't building out something specific. There's a plan for this. We're doing some diversification in the portfolio. We're also building out Axie scholarships, which is really important to be able to get the right blend of Axie monsters to fight with. So you're going to see us kind of add into the mix with some of our own because we can. Here they are, right? We're making them. But a lot of these guys are going to sell really well. At least we're hoping. But you can see me poking through here. I got 79.50 was the total amount of SLP. And I'm going to burn every single piece of it right here. So you can get an understanding of, even though we're just doing some breeding with these 2 Axies, and we're only doing 4 eggs total, it still costs $2,000 to do that. Now we'll take that number. Obviously, the first one costs less because it's less SLP and it goes up, right? But what we're going to do is just average that. We're going to average our cost. So we're going to call it $500 a pop. And at $500 per Axie, and that does not include, and I should have thrown this in there too, you should be aware of this. It does not include the price, the value, the devaluation of each Axie we're breeding. Because as you put breeds on these, then they sell less. See, that's a 0 breed. That 0 breed Axie, the moment that I breed it, well, it says it's a 0 because it hasn't updated on here. But in all reality, every time you give them a breed, that value for that particular Axie drops depending on how many you got, right? So going from 0 to 1, it'll drop pretty good. You'll take a pretty good hit. But going like 2 to 3, not really. Not as much, which is what allowed me to get into some of these positions because I was able to finesse the numbers with, the Axie count. Once you get into 6, the 5-6 range is just blasphemy. And it just doesn't make any sense, really, once you get up to those kind of numbers, unless you've got a unicorn. You have to have something that's going to pay you in a big way. Now, I went 4 to 6 on these, and that's why you see the cost is $2,000 in order for me to get 4 eggs, because of I'm going up and increasing the breeds on those for the specific traits that they have. Okay, so if we look through the dominant traits and then the recessives, they had the mix that I needed, and the recessives were on point. Axie that I got that I'm breeding these guys with was 1,200 and change. I can get you the exact numbers on that guy, but the more breeds you put on them, the lower those numbers end up going, right? But at $1,200 for an Axie plus $2,000 to breed them, plus you got to find the B and the C of your breeding farm, and the B and the C here, I believe, were, now I'm going off the top of the lid, and I'm going to say $800 a pop, and that's a rough estimate. Could be up, could be down on that, but that's a real fair estimate because they have 4 breeds each, so they're about $800 out the gate. You're not going to see those numbers here because I bought these a while ago. But I'll crack out my calculator here. So you're at $800 for those times 2 plus 1,200 and change. We'll call it 12, and we'll call it good at that. So my Axie cost is $2,800. All right, and then I'm going to add in when we say $2,000 is the cost to breed, and that's going to give us 4 offspring. So to get to this point, you're looking at $4,800. Now, the value stays with these Axies until you breed them, so I can't turn around and sell that I can't sell the ones that had 4 breeds that I took to 6. I can't sell them for $800 anymore. So the price on those might go to $600 and change. But they're still worth $600 and change, and if you're like, that seems like a lot of money for something you can't breed, that's because they're meta and they're running up the score, which is why we're messing with them. But the $1,200 I spent on that Axie, and I just breeded 4 times, guess what? Lost all that value. Okay, can't turn around and sell that guy for $1,200 now. It's going to be worth a lot less. So you would want to take that into consideration when you add those values up. That's why if I came in here with my budget and I got some money, I'm spending it too. I'm not scared. We're out here putting up numbers. But if I'm not messing with it, the numbers are off, right? It's way out of proportion. So that being the case, we're trying to, do what we can. And even if you pay top dollar, the value isn't there. You can get some of those, but they're still not perfect. And if you're paying 2 ETH for an Axie, you want it to be clean all the way through R2, and they're not. Or I might even consider it. Look, nothing can come off the table if there's an option available. You got to look at it and run the numbers. But I can get the same kind of results by just breeding a bunch of them, and I can sell all the ones I'm breeding that aren't perfect for $600. $600. So the numbers work, and that's the whole point. So we go through and they're not perfect. We're all right. The value is there, but you're looking at $4,800 in cost on this, and then we'll have if you were doing the farm the way, just with the basics, doing ABC, and you really do need the D if you're starting from the ground up. But the best way, if you can't afford it, is just do it. Take 2 and just start. You don't need ABC. You don't need EFG. You just need to start. Make a plan and whatever you have available. We like to split bags, and we like to be cautious. But if you're trying to get into this, that's the way that I would recommend it. If I were doing it, I would tell myself to just do it. Buy A, B, and I'll worry about C, D, E, F, and G next week or the week after, once I'm up and running, or I got some programs and some scholarships, whatever the situation is. That's the best advice that I can throw out for you. Somebody asked me earlier, I was like, yeah, 20K will get you comfortable. You can do everything you need to. But if you don't have that, start somewhere. Even if you got to get on a scholarship and just keep saving SLP and then, converting it or whatever, sell it and buy some Axies, whatever you got to do, you can start this. That's what people don't understand. You can start it for nothing. Just pick up a scholarship, take half, and just keep building it. I saw somebody, I think they were running through their dailies in an hour. You got an hour a day, and the next thing you get $100, and then 200, and then 300, and then you can breed some floor Axies. You can do floor Axie breeding to start. If that's all you can afford, there's not really much of an excuse not to start, but there is ways to look at it where you can say that's not for me. If it's not for you because you're not bought in on the project, That's different. But if you want to do it and you can't figure it out, just take a scholarship and just start floor breeding. This first part was for the 5-day cycle coming up. So these eggs are going to be ready in 5 days. The next portion that we're going to have coming up, I'm going to run through the old Axies that you just saw in part 1 of the video, and we're going to look at the prices, and I'll give you an idea of what those actually sold for, because I realized, like, hey, the price indicator thing says this is what it's worth, but what's the real? All right, well, I sold them, so I'll show you. You can take a look. We were, I think the number was 1,800 was the profits, but we'll go through that. I just want to see I got the calculator out. As soon as I got the calculator, I got to look. So I'm running through the numbers on these new 4-piece Axie crew that we put together. $500 is the cost on each because we divided that up by 4. We didn't include the purchase cost of any of the other Axies because we can still add those to our teams and we don't have to sell those. We want to keep them. So I'm not going to include that cost as part of the farm. You would include it in a P&L if you were looking at how much you got in the game. Those are assets, so we're going to move that over to the balance sheet and look at it. We're going to use those for cash flow. We want a positive cash flow, and this is going to give us that added opportunity. All right, let's take a look at what we got here next. All right, so now we're going to walk through the sell price for each Axie so you can get an idea of how much money that we have generated. Now keep in mind, we're not selling the best ones, we're selling the worst ones, because we want to keep the best ones for our farm. So the numbers, when we take all the averages out, might work down a little bit lower, but understand that we're holding on to the better ones on purpose. So the first one we sold was 0.1971 Ether. And remember, this is on this specific date. So all the prices, when we add them up, they're all going to be reflective of what Ethereum was trading for since we're dealing in Ether. So 2 of those at the same price. So 0.3942 Ethereum, or Ether, as it's actually known, is going to be the total sale price on Axies 1 and 2. And we're going to get to the third one momentarily. At the time when I was putting all these video clips together, I hadn't sold that other one yet. It was still on its way. But we wanted to get everything as we're kind of doing it so that you get a better feel of what it's like to actually run one of these. So here we're going to run through the exact numbers. At the time of recording, spot price for Ethereum, Ether's trading at 32.28. Now this transaction, when my Axies were purchased, was at 2:30 in the morning. The spot price of Ethereum at the time was trading at 3,100. Okay, so you're going to see the math here on the screen. 0.3942 ETH is our total amount for Axies 1 and 2 that had sold. 1224 is going to be the total. Once we multiply that by the spot price of 3,100 and some change, that was at 2:30 a.m. That's not going to be the same as what the value is now, obviously, because Ethereum's going up in value. The next calculation you're going to see here in a moment, and it's going to speed this up a little bit, but the next calculation is going to be the tax, the Axie tax, if you will. This is the money that it's going to be 4.25%. So I'm going to multiply it by 0.9575. That's going to take Sky Mavis's Axie fee of 4.25% off of my total number. That's going to give us that whole new total if you want to include the Axie fee as well, right? So you can see there's a few things in there that you might not have realized to get you up and get you running in your head with what these numbers are going to look like. All right, so now that we saw the numbers and the time, we're going to take a look at the emails. I popped these up, and this is how I can tell kind of when I'm selling, so I know what the market's doing, all right? So as you can see, we've got Axie ending in 322. That one was sold. And then we got the other one on there as well. So that's for the first 2. And they sold quicker, probably because they were at a better price. But that was the total at 1172 for both. All right, so 1172, that's for the first 2 Axies. And then we got the third one here. Pulling up the email for you real quick. And what you're going to find is that this one sold at 0.148 for Ethereum. And in a sec, I'm going to pull up the spot price on this beast off of another Axie, but it's $467. And in addition to that, I know I had a question about the purchasing of resources to get this done. We also purchased an additional 1,800 SLP to match the 1800 that we had in reserve. Like I said, it's always good to have those in reserve. And here we got the screenshot coming up, which will show you what that SLP cost was, and we'll have to book that. You want to make sure to take into consideration it does need to be transferred to Ronin, and there is another, I think it was 15, 20 bucks at the time. Obviously, fees are a lot higher now, so you have to plan accordingly, but that's what this was. So I hope that that makes sense and answers any of your questions that you might have had about SLP and resources. So I got 0.3959 ETH in my wallet, so a little over, what, 1280 there. And that's not too bad, right? That's a little more than what we were anticipating. Plus, I still saved some AXS because I did not have to go through and purchase additional. So those are resources that we have in reserve. So we're throwing those in there right at that 1993. So I got about 2,000 in already on Ronin, which is something that's important to know because every day the fees for Ethereum are just going through the roof. You know, I'm paying 150, 200 bucks just to move stuff around, and it's just outrageous. When you move something, you have to move weight. Otherwise, financially, it just doesn't make any sense to do it. It's just better to hold off. So we're going to take a look here at another Axie. This is one that we procured for the farm. We needed another one. You saw earlier breeding, so we picked this one up. It's over 1,200 bucks, right? So 0.3834 ETH. And this is what we're going to do our mixing with, right? But I liked it. It has 0 breeds, which is going to give us a lot of opportunity to get some work done. That was the importance of this guy. The other ones have 4 on each. They have really good traits. You just can't find those anymore. So we're going to go with a clean one, but it does have some R1 and some R2 recessive trait situations, we'll call them. But for 12 and change, it's no longer available because I bought it. Well, yeah, so we're using the Axie.tech pricing guide. So I'm walking through that every time I'm making a decision on any of this. So I know what the market price is, and I have a real good understanding of what it's going to be or where it's trending, because you can see previous sales and you can see things that are posted on the market. So you can try to figure out, you know, is there a spot in the middle that you can come and make some money there in that gap. So the cost of this Axie is 1,200 bucks. All right, here we go with some of that bonus content. This was the $200 Axie scalp that I had. We called it $1,800 in profit for the 5-day cycle. This sale took place within that, so we're including it here. 620 some odd, right? 621 bucks was the acquisitions cost. The video you're watching on the screen is from when I purchased it a few weeks back, and then we just sold it. And right here's my sale information on that one, so you can check Ronin if you're so inclined, or you can take a look at the transactions. I'm showing 0.27 ETH at the price of this exact time when this was done at $250 value of the difference between the price of purchase and the price of sale. So $250 is the official scalp profit, not including tax. If I include the tax, it's 37 bucks. And I got the calculator in front of me, so 250, you're looking at 213 bucks, give or take. So 213 does hit that 200 plus Axie scalp price, and I did sell it for probably less than I needed to. I could have sold it for more if I wanted to hold it, but I was looking to get out of that position because if you need to get into better stuff, you got to sell some of the stuff that you don't need in order to make better use of those resources, right? And that's going to pretty much do everything. That's 1,800 bucks in Axie Infinity, and it's in 5 days in that 5-day cycle. If you have any questions, and you also saw the setup for next week, so you're going to see that one as well. But we appreciate you here at RugDoc. Thank you for coming on, checking out the YouTube videos. Also, check out RugDoc.io for more information and to learn more about all the stuff that we're doing. And find us at RugDoc.io on Twitter. Don't forget to like and subscribe right here. And hit that bell notification icon so you know when we're going live or when we're coming back with new stuff. That's going to do it. But I appreciate you again. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we're going to see you next time. Take care, everybody.